Hello, today we will be reviewing the Lionel sd70ace, and this will go for the demonstrator engine, which you see here, along with the whole bnsf Heritage Series line that Lionel's put off in their 2012 catalogs. So we'll go ahead and start out with the extras and whatnot that the engine comes with out of the box. Of course, it comes with a manual, and it's comes with 4 replacement traction tires, a little funnel to fill your smoke fluid up with, memory module, along with a little smoke fluid pipette. Starting with the front of the engine. Let's see if I can't get a little bit more light up here. You see that better now? You can see the MU hoses here. And on the other side, and then maybe you can see there's a brake hose, like right over here. You have a operating electrocoupler. You have a coupler cut bar up here. Working your way up, we have a couple ditch lights. They flash when you blow the horn, and they're only on when you move, and you can control them with your legacy remote. Up here you have a metal chain. Then up here, the door up here does not open. You have separately applied windshield wipers up here. Not really much. Well, there's these handrails here, I should say grab irons, are separately applied, but these ones over here are just molded in. The cab light is illuminated, only on when the engine is stopped. You have Rule 17 lighting in your headlights. You have number boards up here, also illuminated, and all of the lighting features on here are LEDs. Moving down the side of the engine, specifically the truck, here you have some nice separately applied brake lines and stuff here, and you can see the brake cylinders really well, and it's kind of a dull gray color on this engine. And if we come up to the cab here, the windows in here do actually open and close. There, hopefully you can see that. One more thing that I forgot to mention down here is, because my camera angle is so horrible you can't see it, but if we move you down a bit, there is a ground light under here, and you can also see this little bell. You can see the ground light right there. That ground light runs a little bit differently than what I'm used to, because it will turn off at speed step 22 and it will turn back on at speed step 18 as you're slowing down. So it kind of runs a little bit odd. Bringing you back up. You can also see this little, it would be a mirror in real life right here. Also works as sort of a windscreen sort of thing. And you have this part up here for a windscreen, or a thing to shield your eyes, I should say. And on the top of the engine, this is the little GPS unit sort of thing. I believe that has something to do with the radio inside the engine too. This here, I've been told, is an air conditioning unit, but not really sure. Don't quote me on that one. Moving down a little bit more. You got a smoke unit here, operating smoke unit, separately applied horn, which is done really nice. And down here we have the gas tank, which if we zoom in, you can see the fuel gauge and the fuel fill thing right there. And right above it on the handrail, you might be able to read that, but it says fuel. And that's the rear truck, and it's basically the same thing. And you can see up here where it says sd70ace. On the demonstrator engines, that's where they're putting that. Usually it'd be up or below the number, I should say. Separately applied brake wheel there. And on the top here, you've got these fans, which will spin if you blow on them. And the next thing I'll do is I'll take that radiator cap off, show you what's underneath it. Underneath the radiator cap, you have your motor with the momentum flywheel. Looks like it's made out of brass there. And let me zoom in on all the switches here. Volume potentiometer is this one. This is your smoke, no smoke, Odyssey, no Odyssey, and run and program. One more thing to mention about the radiator hatch here is that this right here is a magnet. And it's a powerful one at that, and it sticks to that screw right on the rear of the engine. You have another coupler cut bar. You have an operating electric coupler back here. And there are a couple sets of NU hoses down here, and I believe there's a brake hose over there. Oh, wait, no, it's right there. Kind of hard to see black on black there. Up a little bit higher, you have a another metal chain here and headlight with directional lighting. But if you come over here, one thing that I don't really like about the headlight is that, see if we can get it good, you can see there that headlight sticks out. On the top of the engine there are many separately applied details, such as these little lift rings here, and those, they're all over the engine. There's some here, one on each side there. But one thing that you got to be careful of is that when we first got our first engine, because this is an exchanged one of those lift rings that were on here actually fell out. So, and those actually feel a little bit loose when I touch them like that, so we just glued that back in. It wasn't a really hard fix or anything, but there's a lot more lift rings on this radiator cap all the way around it. You got some nice metal handrails here, and you have a safety tread printed into this little walkway here, and also, hopefully we can pick it up on camera. You can probably actually see that. You know, if the camera would ever focus. You can see little holes in these steps here. And those are just drainage. In terms of features, these engines have Legacy Command equipped. They have Legacy rail sounds, Odyssey 2 speed control, dual powerful maintenance-free motors. And there you saw one of them when I lifted up the radiator hatch. They have automatic sequence control. I already said Rule 17 lighting. Lots of separately applied details. You have front and rear electric couplers, refined transformer control starting speed, so it'll go slower in conventional mode than normal engines. You got traction tires. You got 4 of them on that engine. You've got adjustable smoke output in either Legacy or TMCC mode. Directional lighting, like I already said. Fan-driven smoke unit. You have illuminated front number boards, oscillating ditch lights, ground lights, die-cast metal trucks, pilot, and fuel tank, metal frame. High level of separately applied details, like I already said. Engineer and conductor figures that are hand-painted in there. And the minimum curve looks to be 031, and they are 17.5 inches long. And this is both listings of the catalog look just like this. You can see my demonstrator engines there. These are all the BNSF Heritage Series engines. And now I'll go and flip the engine over so you can see the other side of it. So on the other side of the engine you have 4 collector rollers, 2 on each truck. And you can see that they stick out really far. It kind of makes it a pain in the butt to get the engine on the tracks, because that'll get caught in between the center rail and the outer rails. There is one set of free rolling wheels on each. They do not swivel back and forth like on the older engines. Got 2 traction tires here and 2 traction tires here. And you can see the electric couplers from the underside. One thing that you want to note is that when this engine comes out of the box, I don't really know why it has this, but there's 2 blocks of foam on the front electric coupler, and that will make it so it won't swing. So if you want it to swing, you got to push those out. Otherwise, I think you could leave them in there. But with my curves, I need that out. So that's. Oh yeah, one more thing that I want to mention. You can see the gas tank here. This is where the speaker is, but zoom you in on this little hole in the gas tank. You can see inside that little tiny hole there. In that little tiny hole, there's a sensor in there. Lionel, as far as I know, Lionel has not released what that sensor does yet. So if anybody knows, just leave that in the comments. So now we'll start the comparison part of the video. And if we start with the back here, they're pretty much the same. You got the same electro coupler, you got these same hoses. You might notice this thing sticking out, but that's I have no idea what it's for. If you know what it's for, let me know. But these are on 3 of the 6 heritage locomotives, and they're not on the demonstrator as far as I'm concerned. I don't really know what it's for. Not all sd70ace have that either, like I already said. But you see, you got the same fans. Pretty much all of the body is the same until we get up to the front. When you apply power to the demonstrator engine, the only lights that come on are the number boards, and the sound system is completely silent. So, and when you hit the, or when you actually start it up with your legacy remote or TMCC remote, the cab light, the headlight, the ground lights will all come on, and they're all LEDs in this engine. Over here on the Western, we will, or when you put the power on, the headlight comes on, number boards come on, the cab lights on, the ground lights are already on, and the sound system buzzes a little bit. And on the demonstrator engine, this has Rule 17 lighting. This one does not. The demonstrator has some really bright LED lights for headlights. The Western Pacific's, it's a little bit more prototypical. It's got a little bit more of a yellowish glow to it. And the Western Pacific also has regular light bulbs, incandescent light bulbs in the number boards and for the cab light. And it's not very bright compared to this engine here. Okay, this is where the physical similarities end. So let me just make sure that you're in the shot of these trucks here. First off, you notice that these collector rollers are pretty much flat compared to these ones, which they spring up so far. This front freewheeling truck up here swivels. This does not. And moving a little bit further, in the Western Pacific, this can be a problem. This is the door on the front of the engine. I had this wind deflector thing right here, sun deflector, I guess it is, fall off on me too, on that engine. Anyway, looking down at the gas tanks, you'll see that it's just little tiny pinholes in this, and you've got nice big grates in this. I'm not really sure why, but you'll notice this gas tank here does not have that sensor or anything, and it's got all this information printed right here. It doesn't really matter to me, the information, but seriously, if anybody knows what that sensor's for, just tell me. And on these engines, you don't have to worry about that styrofoam, or it's not really styrofoam either, it's really hard, dense sort of foam. But you don't have to worry about taking that out of the Western Pacific. Yeah, like I said, this can be a pretty big problem. Your doors will swing open while they're running as well, if you run at high speeds, even on pretty wide curves. I've got 048 curves. This one is set for what they say is an 036 minimum curve. This one says it'll take an 031 minimum curve. I really don't know how this one could have a lower minimum curve, because these wheels up here are locked up. They do not move. So they take an 036 pretty easily, I know that. But yeah, I've had this happen a lot. You gotta watch for that door falling off of them. It just goes back on, it's just little pins and whatnot. But you can see it's pretty different underneath here. I would tell you to just ignore the colors. because obviously that's going to vary between the engines. And this one here, what I forgot to mention is it technically has rail sounds light, L-I-T-E in it. This one would have rail sounds 6.0 in it, so they're a little bit different in that. Rail sounds light is what has automatic sequence control, so that's pretty interesting. Okay, one more difference that I should note that I can't really show you is the wiring that's underneath the trucks. They're different. On this one, it's just one connector that has 4 wires in it that you pull, and then you can get the truck completely off. This one has 2 connectors, and then there's some wires that are actually permanently in there, I do believe. So you can't really get the truck completely off and away from the engine. I don't really know why they did that, but as I was talking about earlier, the lights stick out on this demonstrator engine, the rear headlights. And on the Western Pacific, those lights are perfectly sunk into there, so I don't really know why. Because both these headlights in the back are just as bright. And this actually does have Rule 17 in the back, too, so that might be. Maybe they have to use different lights for Rule 17 or something like that. I don't know. One thing that you may have noticed is that now, if you've seen any of my videos before, you probably haven't seen green sticks wedged underneath the track. But now I do, and that has to do with this engine in particular. If you have a lot of dips in your track and stuff, it will end up it'll end up spinning basically on that little dip. And if you've seen my video layout update number 8, you can see the dip in the track pretty good there. But these are just popsicle sticks painted green and stuck underneath the track. And how we found that out is the engine was actually stuck, and you give it a little push and it came up again. And we were backing up, we took the radiator hatch off of it, and the motor was just going like crazy. You look down here, the gears are going like crazy. I didn't really see the wheels spinning, but now that I have this dip pretty much solved, it's works a lot better now. So I guess now is the comparison of the 2 engines. Okay, another difference is in between the what's underneath the radiator hatches here. So you can see, like I already showed you on the demonstrator here, you've got this flywheel, you've got the volume, and you got all your switches. Over here, on this engine, you've got a flywheel. Not sure what metal it is because it's painted black. And your volume potentiometers in the middle there. Volume potentiometers here. This is your run program switch. There's a rail sound, signal sound switch on this. Smoke, no smoke, and Audi, no Odyssey on there. You can see this wire right here goes back to the rear headlight. And on both engines there is a spot back here for a 9-volt battery. And I forgot to mention that earlier. On this engine there's a little clip down in there I'd like to show you. But right, zoom out. You can see there, you put a 9-volt battery in there. Put a 9-volt battery in there in the same spot pretty much there too. And that's for if you're running in conventional mode. The sound systems will stay on during direction changes or power interruptions. And now I guess we'll get to the comparison in the electronics. One more thing to mention before I get into the running portion of the video, where I compare the 2 engines electronically and whatnot, is that there's motors in these radiator hatches. Now, one thing that I did realize or notice a while ago is that those motors in there get loose over time. And there's 2 little screws that you can tighten up, and you don't have to really worry about, you don't have to take the shell off or anything. Just lift up the hatch and you can get to the screws pretty easily there. But anyway, those get loose over time. I haven't had a problem with the front motors getting loose. But yeah, next we'll get to the running session. Okay, so next we are going to do a comparison video of these two engines, and I've got them both on the track so we can compare the horn, the bell, and the different features that I've really found that are kind of different on there. So let me go ahead and get some track power in here, and I'm going to start the Western Pacific first, and then I'll start the demonstrator. Turning the power on now. Probably saw the lights on the demonstrator flash, but now you can probably see that only the number boards are on. Move back down the train, and everything on the Western Pacific is on. But let's go ahead and start the Western Pacific up.
Dispatcher here. Do you copy? Over. Roger that. Please start up and stand by. Okay. Starting up the engine. Out.
Okay, so that's the Western Pacific startup. I'm going to turn the volume down on it now. And on the demonstrator, I'll go ahead and do the long startup sequence.
This is the dispatcher. Do you copy? Roger that. Okay, start her up. Stand by for track orders. Copy that, dispatcher. Starting up the engine. Out.
Alright, so now the demonstrator engine is running, and we will start with the demonstrator engine with the horn. Now we go over to the Western Pacific, and we will blow the horn on it as soon as I get turn the volume back up. That's what I got for the Western. Starting with the Western Pacific with the bell. That's Western Pacific with the bell. Now we'll go over to the EMB demonstrator and do the bell. Use the bell on that. Let me go ahead and crank the smoke up on both of them. And there's the demonstrator. Got it turned on. You can see the demonstrator's going good there. And our Western Pacific is not, so. Western Pacific's probably not going to smoke when it's idling. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into lash ups, and I will set it so that engine 12 is the front one, and it's set. There we go. And now when I start to move them, and they're not actually coupled together, but see there's some smoke there. I can see some smoke out of the Western Pacific too. Just make sure it's on high. Smoke out of the Western, there's the smoke out of the EMD demonstrator. You notice that the ditch lights are on in the EMD demonstrator here, cab lights out. And one thing that I want to show you is the, as I back up, if I flip this in reverse right now the way it is, the lights on the Western Pacific will not come on the ditch lights. Now they're smoking about the same. Come into the shot soon. Alright, so let's stop it. Two different brake sounds, kind of makes it interesting. So you can see the headlight is on the Western, and let's bring it backwards. Maybe, if I get my finger in the button right. Okay, so you can see that the ditch lights here are not on the Western Pacific. And I'll pull it back and I'll flip it around. See the different smoke outputs here. about the same. Smoke output-wise, it's pretty much the same. And I will now go into a different now you can see that the Western Pacific, which is engine ID 3, is going to be the front engine for this one, and number 12, which is the demonstrator, is going to be the rear engine actually. So it's set. Now you can see there's smoke there, and there's a little bit of smoke there, but not a lot. You see that all the lights are out on that. But what I would like to show you is that when I flip it into reverse, there it goes, and when I start moving in reverse, the ditch lights come on in the rear engine as well, if you have it facing backwards like this. So that's one thing that I thought was interesting. And that's it's a nice touch actually. Another thing that I should do is the braking sound, so I gotta separate the engines apart, so. There we go. Now brake sounds for the Western Pacific since I got it moving. There's the Western Pacific brake sounds and the demonstrator brake sounds. Get it moving forward again. And brakes. And that's, well, besides the fact you can see that there's Rule 17 lighting on this engine. And the cab light and ground light much brighter than on this engine. If we move over here. Also much more smoke output on the demonstrator as we're idling. You see the cab light and ground light, you can just barely see that. Well, I think that wraps up this review, so that's it for now. Goodbye.